I was wrong about the Sony Xperia 1 Mark 6. And I think a lot of us were, and unfortunately everybody doesn't have an opportunity to mess with the phone. But I was really, really upset whenever I heard that they were switching away from the 4K 21 by 9 aspect ratio on the phone. And now we have a more similar aspect ratio to something like an iPhone or a Samsung phone. So a lot of people look at that as like a kind of a copping out and going away, cheaping and dumbing down the phone from what it was because 4K is the gold standard. Well, I've been using this phone. I've got my SIM card in it. I actually found a way to get 5G working, maybe. I'm going to have another video about that later because I'm going to test out. I'm here in Chicago right now. But yes, I really like the phone and the display is beautiful. So one of the biggest problems that I had with the predecessor, the Sony Xperia 1 Mark 5, was that the screen always felt a little dull to me. Like it just, especially compared to other phones, it wasn't bright enough. It just didn't have the contrast level. I don't know what it was, but it just wasn't as good as the other phones. I would look at them like, oh, this is kind of dull. It looks great. I love the 4K. And a lot of people don't know this. But when it comes to the Sony Xperia 1 Mark 5, it wasn't always in 4K. Like it would be in 4K when you were watching and consuming 4K content, but if you were just normally using the phone, it was in Quad HD Plus. So it was more of a Quad HD Plus screen that would bump up to 4K at certain periods of time. So having said all that, what are my thoughts and feelings on this screen? Now, I absolutely love this screen. Every time I pick the phone up, I've been using the Sony phones for so long, Xperia 1 Mark 5, Mark 4, Mark 3, that when I got this phone, I took it out of the box. I knew it was going to be brighter. Like I knew it was going to be brighter, but my expectations just weren't there. Where I just didn't get too excited about it because I was too busy being irritated about the fact that they changed the aspect ratio. And I love the 21 by 9. I like how thin it is, how easy it is to hold. But I got to tell you, even with this one, with the wider aspect ratio, a little bit shorter, I've gotten used to this over the last week, and it actually is really, really nice. Like it's not as big and bulky as the iPhone. It's not as big and bulky as the Samsung. Like I was even using my S24 Ultra for something the other day. I'm like, man, this phone is so heavy and so bulky, and I just don't get that with this phone. Whenever I use this one, it still feels nice and lightweight. This is the official Sony case, by the way. First time I've ever had the official Sony case, and it's a really good case. The only thing that irks me with having this case on here, and I think it just has to deal with the way they designed the power button in general, I basically can never find it. Like my finger just never, my thumb never finds it when I'm holding it there. I keep rotating the phone thinking I'm holding it the wrong way. So I don't know if it's so much the phone as it is the case, but yeah, that's the only real complaint I have about it so far. But it's super bright. It's an LTPO panel. It throttles the refresh rate down so that way you save battery. And the battery on this thing is insane. Like this phone, I don't think I could kill it in one day if I tried. This phone, it is going the distance. And Sony says it'll go 2 full days. I haven't tried 2 full days because I've been too busy on the road. This last week, I've been all over the place. I was in New York for the Motorola Razr event. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the coverage on that. I'm going to have more videos on that as soon as I can because the pre-order date, I believe, when it launches is July 10th, which is funny because they're doing it the same day as the Unpacked event for Samsung. So I'm like, okay, Motorola. Like Motorola and Samsung are going at it right now. The Motorola had their launch event, and Samsung announced that day at like the exact time. I was sitting there at the Motorola event. They announced the Reserve Your Pre-Order campaign and the date for the thing. So they've got some real competition going on with them right now. But I have really, really enjoyed this phone. The screen is super bright. It's beautiful. It even looks good outdoors. And it's funny, somebody asked me how I got one with the screen protector on it already. I bought this one off of a website called Swappa. It's a used phone, but I looked at it online and it looked like it was in immaculate condition. It came with the Sony case. I ended up paying $1,200 even plus taxes, like 13 something. But yeah, I bought this phone myself. I tried working with Sony and I emailed Sony and they're like, we'll try and get one from Sony Japan, but after 3 emails, they never got me a contact. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I went ahead and I bought it. I had to wait a little bit longer to buy it because I had my son's graduation party. I took him and like 5 other kids of mine to New York for like 5 days for my son's graduation from high school. But yeah, so as soon as I got back, I bought this. And I've really been enjoying it. And I can't wait to share more on this with you. I'll have my full review probably in like a week. While I'm here in Chicago, I'm going to be shooting a lot of footage, a lot of shooting video clips, shooting pictures, and things like that. That's one of the big things that folks want to know about. And I got to say, just in the limited time I've taken some photos with it, they really did beef up the auto mode. Like, it's faster. The camera app is more responsive. Like, the camera app is way better in here now. And instead of having like a little icon for bokeh, it has its own mode. It's funny, they don't call it portrait mode. They call it bokeh mode. But anyway, yeah, more of the story is I got a little too upset before the phone came out, which, I mean, this happens, especially when you change things. Like, nobody likes it when you have a feature that your brand, your company stands out. And I wish they could have kept the 4K. I think maybe if they could have kept the 4K or at least Quad HD plus, and that's the one thing that kind of irks me. Like, I haven't noticed any difference as I've been using this phone day to day. Like, I don't notice any quality difference in the pixel per inch, the density. It looks to me just like all the other phones I use that are at Quad HD plus. So you're not really losing anything there from a practical perspective, but it's really doesn't look good on paper when you're charging $1,300 for a phone. You go and you drop it from 4K, the highest standard in phones, which nobody else is using, and then drop it down to full HD 1080p plus. But yeah, the screen, it looks beautiful. It's great. It's sharp. It's really good. Like, they nailed it with this panel. It is a really impressive screen. Also, the form factor, I actually like it. So there were things that, I mean, I did really enjoy the Sony Xperia 1 Mark 5, Mark 4, all the previous ones with the 21:9, but I always thought there could have been a little bit more compromise. Like, it was nice that it was so thin because it's so easy to hold, especially one-handed. And this one I can still hold decently one-handed, especially a lot better than many other phones, but I can't hold it as one-handed easily and use it like I could the previous Sonys. So there's a little trade-off there, but the actual real estate when you're using it, it feels like a tremendously bigger phone with not too much sacrifice. Then you have the beautiful screen. So I like all that stuff. And of course, 120 hertz, all that jazz. And the only real problems are, it's expensive and you can't get it in the States. And I did have some complaints over the last few days because I've been using it and I was only getting LTE. I was not getting good coverage. But one of my viewers actually reached out to me and it's like, hey, there's a code you can go into the phone settings and disable some setting and turn it back on, and well, 5G is working out. I don't, maybe you can see that. I don't know. So I'm curious how good the 5G actually is. Is it going to cut off on me later? So I don't want to be like, oh, I've got a 5G miracle cure for your Sony Xperia 1 Mark 5, but I'm using it with T-Mobile, works with texting, works with sending pictures and video clips. It works with the internet. So I'm going to be out and about around Chicago today and this weekend. I'm going to test out the signal, see how it is and all that stuff. But yeah, I love it. I'm glad that I bought it. The Snapdragon 8 Generation 3. This phone feels so snappy. I don't know what they did, what the magic sauce is. There's really not a whole lot of power, like daily performance power change between last year's Snapdragon 8 Generation 2 and the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3. But when you use it, it just feels like a completely different phone. Every time I pick it up, it's like I've taken the wrapping paper off of it and using it for the first time. It's snappy, it's fast, it's quick. My wife just dropped something on the floor in the background. Maybe you heard that. I'm recording the hotel room right now, and there's this stupid chain that keeps bumping into the window here. I don't know if y'all hear that. Hopefully not. I'll edit it out in post. I won't. I won't. But anyway, so yeah, here in Chicago, going to go test this thing out. So many positives about this phone I like so far. The biggest question though, how to get it, which model to get, is 5G going to work? And the rest of it is, can you get over the screen changes? And some people will, some people won't. But as a diehard Sony fan and Sony user, I gotta say, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, it bothered me when I first saw it and on paper, and when I first took it out of the box, there was some disappointment. And then as I started using it and I carried it for like a day, I'm like, man, this is kind of better. I just wish it was Quad HD plus. But again, that's more of a principle thing. It's like my brain. When you're paying $1,200, $1,300 for a phone, you expect the best of the best. And it's hard to step back from 4K to 1080p, right? But it doesn't mess with the experience. It's still really good. Also, the speakers are amazing on this thing. Yes, they did bump up the speakers, these two front firing speakers. Sound is amazing. So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm starving. I'm gonna go eat something. Probably gonna go shove some Benihanas down my throat and then stare over the edge of a building. But that's all I got. I will have more content for y'all guys later. Full review, photos, videos, all that stuff. So stay tuned. Let me know what questions that you have, because I know there's people that want this phone and want to know more about it. So go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Let me know what questions you have. Yeah. That's it. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, all that stuff, you know where to go. Hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys next time.